I had never flown on a plane, and a 19-hour first shot was quite interesting. I had never before been completely surrounded by a culture not my own. And our comparative study of South African anti-apartheid movement and the civil rights movement as instantiated in Mississippi taught me much about these two different liberation movements and cultures, but to my surprise, it also taught me a lot about myself. We learned how to ask questions of our narrators that resulted in answers our narrators didn't know they knew. We learned the trick of gutting a book or article. College students, please take note. It will save you hours of trouble. Where you read the introduction and the conclusion, and you skim the rest. This has helped me survive graduate school to this point. I immediately began combing through my Mosaic field notes and the photographs we took during our research. I was very surprised with what I found in my field notes. Except for searching for brief details and references, I hadn't gone through the journals I kept during the Mosaic. Now, 5 years later, I read through them, some for the first time. I came out of the closet during my freshman year at Dickinson, but those of you who identify as LGBT know that coming out is never a one-time event. In different ways, we come out of the closet on a daily experience, although thankfully it does get easier the more we do it. Reading my South Africa and Mississippi field notes, I rediscovered a self poised halfway out the closet door. Being a gay visitor and field researcher in South Africa and Mississippi forced me to learn about myself and to finally come to terms with my sexuality. When I talk about my Mosaic experiences now, I find myself describing it as a watershed moment, a time of great personal and professional growth. I entered the program knowing that I would learn about field methods and the histories and musics of different cultures, but I don't know that I expected to learn about myself and my home culture, but I did. I have never experienced such a sense of culture shock as I did the day after we returned from South Africa to the US. Seeing my home culture and myself again for the first time forced me to perceive the differences between them. I, and not my home culture, had clearly changed. It took me much of the rest of the year to begin to understand precisely how I had changed. Embedding yourself in another culture, even if only for a short period, allows you to discover more about yourself than you thought possible, and sometimes the lessons there help you grow up. Looking back now, I've come to perceive the intersections and connections between the anti-apartheid and civil rights movements and the LGBT struggle for civil rights. The desire for equal treatment under law, of access to human rights denied because of phenotype or sexual orientation, merges these and other civil rights movements. Despite the many distinctions, our struggles for civil rights exhibit a remarkable similarity. Although we focus on Black liberation movements, we came to better understand humanity as a whole.